Today we're going to talk about why we would want to have public APIs on the phone. There are kind of three groups here. There are the users, there are the producing developers, and then the consuming developers. And we'll sort of touch on each one of those and why it's beneficial for everybody to have public APIs available locally on the device. For today's video, we're going to actually use a concrete example, and we're going to talk about three apps: MyFitnessPal, Strava, and YThings. I realize that these products actually do already integrate with each other. They do it over the web, so I feel like I should mention that first. They don't, I don't think, integrate on the phone directly. Like you can log into each other's service on the phone, but you have to like actually log in. And I'll sort of explain at the end what the difference is. Well, I lost the light outside. It's going to be the discussion focused on the provider of the API. In this case, it's MyFitnessPal. So MyFitnessPal has a calorie counting app. Basically, the idea is that you go in, you enter all the foods that you ate, you enter your exercise, and it tells you how many calories over you are for the day or how many calories under you are and can actually consume based on your fitness goals. MyFitnessPal users want to be able to track their exercise as well. There are these other apps that do sort of activity tracking for you. Right? Strava, for example, you hit a button before you start your run or your bike ride, and it records your ride and tells you how many calories you likely burned based on how far you went, how fast you were going. If you're wearing a heart rate monitor, that can feed into the information as well. So all those things give you not only something that you don't have to enter any text for, but a better picture of the calories that you're burning. So it's more accurate in MyFitnessPal because it has more data to base it off of instead of just kind of a more generic algorithm. So MyFitnessPal has this great database, and they're kind of like the place that users are going to go to look and see, like, can I have this cookie tonight? But Strava might be where you are for recording your fitness, recording your runs. So MyFitnessPal could open up an API to allow Strava to send information to them. Say, Strava sends an intent to MyFitnessPal that says, bike ride, 30 minutes, 15 miles an hour, done. Right? This is how many calories we think they burned. Fire it off to MyFitnessPal. MyFitnessPal adds it to that user's daily log. Another sort of thing that might feed into MyFitnessPal would be the YThings scale. So you have this scale that sits in your bathroom, and you step on it, it weighs you, and then it sends that data automatically to their service. So one of the things that MyFitnessPal tracks is your weight. So you can log your weight and track your progress as you're also tracking your calories in, calories out. YThings is another example of an integration where on the phone, they could do this on the phone, where they send an intent from YThings to MyFitnessPal saying, here's the weight, date, time. They also take like fat percentage and water percentage, which are also things that MyFitnessPal tracks, although I don't know how accurate they are. For the provider, the original provider, MyFitnessPal, who's opening up these APIs, there might seem like there's an apparent downside where users are no longer interacting with them quite as much for certain things. However, you could flip it around and say, well, that's true, but it allows users to use MyFitnessPal actually more than they would have before. Now there's other things that are integrating with it, so MyFitnessPal has more data now than it used to, because all these other things are pushing data to it. Where before, there might have been enough friction where a user would have said, whereas if you've got data coming to you automatically, it's just there, like you have it, it's free. The more things that you can have kind of integrating with you, the more tightly bound the user is to you. So those become more sticky users, right? So your Strava, right? You have this really great app that records activities, and users are sort of asking about like, oh well, I want to count my calories, and I want to kind of like Strava's really good for telling me how many I've burned, but I also want to know how many like I've eaten. And you could look around and say like, okay, well we could build this. We could build, it's just a database, right? And a little bit of simple math. But why? Like that's actually kind of a big lift. Like if you think about all the different foods you're gonna have to be able to track, like you could have users do it, but then it's gonna be really crappy for a long time. Instead, like they're gonna say, oh hey, look, MyFitnessPal has this thing. They opened up an API for us, no brainer. Like we just fire off an intent to MyFitnessPal, tell our users to use MyFitnessPal. Done. Like now you've written, a handful of lines of code, and you have this great new integration. Like you've got this new functionality that you're allowing your users, right? So it's really simple for the consuming side of an API, like why it would be helpful. And then on the user side, users they just want to get stuff done, right? Like, and they don't want to have to go into 1,000 apps to do everything. If they can go to one app and have something done for them, and then it tells a couple other services that they also want notified that got done, like perfect, right? And so it's an obvious win for users. Like they get to do more, they have more functionality, they have to work less to get it. Like I said, these all actually do integrate with each other. They integrate via web services, not on the phone itself. And here's the difference. When you're on your phone, and that's where you're primarily interacting with an app like Strava, how are you connecting to MyFitnessPal? Or how are you connecting from MyFitnessPal to Strava? You have to like actually log into that other service. So you go to Strava preferences. I hit a button in Strava, it opens up WebView. This is bad for two reasons. First, you can scrape data out of those web views. Like, I don't care what you say, you can get data out of there. Second, is I have to type in a bunch of crap on my phone, especially a password, which I don't know my passwords. I explicitly don't know my passwords. So, it's a huge pain for me to do. But, if the integration were on the phone, it could send an intent over to MyFitnessPal saying like, user so-and-so wants to integrate. They want to tie these two services together. MyFitnessPal, if they wanted to have some security on their side, they could pop a little dialogue that says like, would you like to allow Strava to communicate with MyFitnessPal? And you could click yes, and you'd be done. That was public APIs on the phone. We now kind of have an idea of like what this series is about. We're talking about allowing users to kind of do more with their devices. And next time we're going to go through an example in code. So sorry there was no code this time, but next time we'll have an example of having a text-to-speech service that you can share from any app to, and it'll just speak out what you shared. All right, see you next time.